Dear learners, I welcome you all to the third module of the sixth week of the online course on Introduction to Distance and Digital Education. I am Krishangi Saikia, Assistant Professor in the discipline of Political Science, Krishnakanta Hontikoi State Open University. In the previous modules of this week, you have understood about the different courses available for community development in ODL mode, as well as the various prospects and challenges of community development through distance education. In this module, we will discuss about the achievement of rural development through open and distance learning. The objectives of this module are therefore, number 1, to define rural development and distance education, and number 2, to discuss courses of study related to rural development. Dear learners, you must be aware of the fact that rural development is an essential index of a country's overall development. Rural development programs aim at reducing poverty and unemployment among the rural masses and target all the socially discriminated classes and groups so that they can reap the benefit of development. Around 70% of the population in India lives in villages with agriculture and allied activities as their main occupation. The rural areas of the country stand at the opposite pole of the urbanized areas and perennially suffer from lack of facilities available for the urban population. They have a low population density and most of the land is devoted for agriculture and allied activities. Contrary to this, the urban area is characterized by higher population density and diverse occupations which are based on secondary and service sectors. Urban areas may be cities, towns, or semi-urban places where the pace of development is visibly faster than the rural areas. But real development will take place only when the rural areas are developed and the rural-urban disparity becomes less pronounced. In fact, rural and urban development is complementary to each other. Rural development means both the economic betterment of the people and greater social transformation. In order to provide the rural people with better prospects for economic development, increased participation of the people in the rural development programs, decentralization of planning, better enforcement of land reforms, and greater access to credit are necessary. Initially, the main thrust for development was laid on agriculture, industry, communication, education, health and allied sectors. But now it has been realized that accelerated development can take place only if the educational sector is developed at the grassroots level. Now learners, let us first understand the core concept of rural development. Rural development in general refers to the actions and initiatives taken to improve the standard of living in non-urban neighborhoods, countryside, and in the remote villages. Here, agricultural activities are prominent and economic activities primarily relate to the primary sector, that is the production of foodstuff and raw materials. Rural areas are typically described as small, inward-looking, and picturesque communities bound together by familial relationships as well as mutual assistance and dependency in primary agricultural activities. The characteristic features that differentiate the rural from the urban areas include number 1, size, particularly areas inhabited by the people, low population density, that is number 2, number 3, homogeneity, number 4, presence of few social classes, 5th, low standard of living, 6th, presence of few or no social amenities such as electricity, pipe-borne water, low social mobility, and agrarian character. The rural areas also produce the bulk of food items consumed in urban areas. Besides, there is the attendant problem of the drifting of young, able men to cities in order to benefit from the urban areas and from the modern life. People living in rural areas are characterized by low capital investment, low savings, and low production. The poverty level is usually higher among women than men. Women continue to struggle with dual responsibilities of economic production and domestic labor, and most of them are confronted by poverty, illiteracy, high health risks, inadequate access to productive resources, and lack of credit as well as market access. The World Bank has defined rural development in such a way. It defines rural development as a strategy aimed at improving the economic and social well-being of a specific group of rural poor. It entails spreading the advantages of development to the poorest among those seeking a living in rural areas. This category consists of small-scale farmers, tenants, and landless agricultural laborers and artisans. According to Mahatma Gandhi, rural development comprises the growth of agriculture, animal husbandry, forestry, fisheries, use of khadi, promotion of village industries, primary and adult education, rural sanitation, upliftment of backward classes, welfare of women, and education in public health. According to Dr. D.M. Nanjudappa, rural development encompasses both agricultural and social infrastructure development. According to the Ministry of Rural Development, Government of India, rural development is a strategy aimed at improving the economic and social lives of the rural poor. Let us now try to understand the three components of rural development. Number 1. Rural development aims to restructure all areas of the rural economy. It includes the primary, secondary, as well as the tertiary sectors. Number 2. It aims to improve the quality of life in rural areas by providing health and medical facilities, job opportunities, vocational training, and education. And finally, number 3. It significantly improves socio-economic circumstances for the scheduled castes, tribes, landless agricultural laborers, and small and marginal farmers. Rural development programs mostly aim at the social and economic development of the areas. These programs generally flow from local or regional authorities and also from NGOs, national government, and international development organizations. In fact, you can see that many of the developed countries have very active rural development programs. The main aim of the rural government policy is to develop the underdeveloped villages. Around 70% of the population in India are living in rural areas, as we have already mentioned. Mahatma Gandhi's opinion that India lives in their villages is equally true even today. To ignore the villages and the remote far-flung areas is to halt the march of progress and development. Ideally, the people in rural areas should enjoy the same quality of life as is enjoyed by the people living in suburban and urban areas. Rural development, therefore, in general refers to the actions and initiatives taken to improve the standard of living in non-urban neighborhoods, economic tensions which lead to urban poverty, and economic deprivation of a vast section of the urban population. Seen in this context, rural development is an imperative for the rural people to whom it provides adequate and quality social services and minimum basic needs. In today's context, rural development mainly focuses on poverty alleviation, better livelihood opportunities, provision of basic amenities and infrastructure facilities through innovative programs for promoting wage and self-employment and vocational education. Learners, let us now come to one of the main concepts of our module, that is distance education and rural development, and see the relationship. Distance education or learning refers to teaching and learning where the learner is physically separated from the instructor but is still in regular contact. While there may be occasional meetings between the instructor and the learner, the actual amount of face-to-face contact is always limited or sometimes even non-existent. Let me tell you that nowadays, distance education is no longer a matter of choice but a compulsion of the times. The mode of distance learning has emerged as a blessing in disguise to those who aspire to become learned and knowledgeable but could not access the regular mode of collegiate education due to their economic compulsions or for some other reasons. So distance education plays a major role in rural development, and it has rightly been given importance in the developing countries of Asia, which are characterized by high incidence of rural poverty. Through this system, even the low-income people who have no access to education in formal universities can improve their knowledge base and can acquire certain qualifications. This in turn contributes towards increasing the literacy rate and in the long run can be useful towards eradicating poverty and other such problems. Let us now talk about a country called Nigeria. In the context of countries like Nigeria, prior to 1948, there were no domestic higher education institutions as such. As a result, the country's first students learned through distance education and graduated with important skills. Nigeria's first schools and institutes of higher education were established by resource personnel who had graduated through distance learning programs, paving the way for national development. So you can see that despite the existence of large urban centers, as we have already mentioned, India is still predominantly a rural society with approximately 70% of the population living in the rural areas. It depends on several interrelated components such as the development of appropriate production technology, dissemination of modern technology to the farming community, formulation of suitable policies for growth in the farm and rural non-farm economies, conservation and sustainable use of natural resources, and provision of infrastructure and social services. So for achieving rural development and for responding to these global challenges, there will be required trained professionals with a wide range of relevant expertises. They are needed to work in government agencies, non-governmental organizations, and in the private sector. Such professionals are needed who can formulate appropriate policies and plans, design and implement development projects, disseminate appropriate technology and information to farmers and small-scale entrepreneurs, and manage businesses and the efficient delivery of services in the rural areas. Therefore, the need of the hour is the occupational modernization of the weaker sections and the tribes, and this can only be possible through education and particularly education in vocational areas. There are well-established open universities in India which can serve this purpose. Most of these universities have started offering professional programs in the field of rural and agricultural development. Indira Gandhi National Open University, or IGNOU, offers various programs in rural development. Besides IGNOU, other open universities have also launched various programs in rural development. In fact, Yashwantrao Chavan Maharashtra Open University has done a commendable job in reaching out to the rural tribal people of Maharashtra for their sustainable development. Programs through distance mode like plumbing, lathe operating, etc. have been launched. It has also successfully launched 10 crop-based programs for the farmers in the state. These open universities have rightly adhered to the objective of making quality higher education available to the deprived and disadvantaged segments, especially in rural and remote areas like women, the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, and besides have tailor-made innovative programs. The concept of Prayog Parivar, launched by the university, has been a successful venture. This concept provides the farmers a common platform with a common goal to discuss their problems, experiment, and generate knowledge or record the locally available agriculture innovations based on their field experiences. IGNOU has signed a Memorandum of Understanding with the National Institute of Rural Development to develop more rural development specific programs in the future. There are a few examples of how the universities in the ODL system can offer services in rural development. Distance learning programs are increasingly being explored in many areas of education. In particular, schools in the rural settings, which have traditionally been undeserved and dislocated from their urban counterparts, are now seeing the benefit of distance learning technologies. In a democratic country like ours, we have the need of getting equal treatment in terms of enjoying the opportunities which are constitutionally guaranteed to all. We all know that education is meant for the welfare of every member in the society and for the country as a whole. Therefore, getting equal opportunity in accessing education is a human right for everyone living in the country. But there is a huge gap in rural-urban disparity, gender disparity, regional disparity in terms of accessing education and other kinds of human rights which are constitutionally provided. People in the urban areas are comparatively more educated, more conscious and aware regarding their rights and responsibilities that are needed to have a standard of life. Therefore, it is urgently needed to make people aware through proper form of education and make them functionally literate irrespective of sex, age, religion, pace and place, regions, etc. People living in the rural areas are characterized by low capital investment, low savings and low production. Poverty level in these areas are usually higher among women than men. women continue to struggle with dual responsibilities of economic production and domestic labor, and most of them are confronted by poverty, illiteracy, high health risks, etc. Thus, it is found that although ideally the people in the rural areas should enjoy the same quality of life as is enjoyed by the people living in the suburban and urban areas, still there is a huge gap between rural and urban in terms of having quality of life like literacy, employment, and so on. For instance, in terms of literacy, let us run through some figures. According to the census of 2011, in India, the urban literacy percentage is 84.11%, whereas in the rural areas it is only 67.77%, with a gap of 16.34%. In Assam, the urban literacy percentage is 88.47%, and in the rural areas it is 69.34%, with a gap of 19.13%. This shows that there is an urgent need to remove this disparity in order to maintain the equal standard of life of the people in both the urban and the rural areas. Education is therefore the only way to boost up the standard of life of the people, make them aware to think critically, and develop their self-esteem and self-consciousness about their life and society. Again, educated people are generally better productive workers. They can use their capital more effectively, adopt new technologies, and learn from their mistakes. Therefore, to make education accessible to all is an urgent need, as well as to disseminate information and knowledge to the people through the various modes of education. Apart from the conventional system of education, open and distance learning is the most viable option for making education as accessible as possible for all. Now learners, let us understand some of the courses for rural development that are available through the distance mode. Distance education is specifically designed to address the inaccessibility of the weaker sections of the society or reaching out to the unreached. Distance education has reduced the disciplinary constraints of the conventional university system, and in India in particular, distance education has opened up new disciplines that are relevant for self-employment and potential employability. Over a period, the open and distance education system in India has emerged as complementary to conventional higher education and has been playing a significant role in bringing about empowerment as a whole. You can see that most of the open universities and dual mode universities are offering various programs, especially for women and the rural folks. IGNOU is a pioneer in this field, and other open universities, including the Krishnakanta Hontiko State Open University in Assam, are following its lead. IGNOU has introduced various programs which aim to improve the quality of women's life by empowering them. They have developed courses such as MA in Women and Gender Studies and PG Diploma in Women's Studies. Courses like childcare guidance, jewelry designing, pottery making, Montessori training, knitting, fashion designing, beautician certificate course in nutrition are some of the programs that can be offered by universities in the ODL mode. These courses are meant for self-employment. IGNOU also offers a number of postgraduate programs in rural development, like the Master of Arts in Rural Development, as well as the program on postgraduate diploma in rural development. Other state open universities of India also offer similar type of courses. For example, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University in Hyderabad offers Master of Arts in Rural Development. The Odisha State Open University in Sambalpur, Odisha offers a diploma in rural development. In fact, in the context of Assam, Krishnakanta Hontiko State Open University is taking a leading role in offering vocational courses in rural development and women empowerment. Courses like scientific piggery farming, commercial goat rearing, commercial broiler farming, commercial duck farming, commercial layer farming, mobile repairing, maintenance and repairing of audio-video equipments are offered. These are certain vocational programs which can directly benefit the women and men alike, and also finally enhance women empowerment through self-employment and entrepreneurship development. Certain other programs include fashion designing, beautician, garment manufacturing, nursery management, food and fruits preservation, etc. So dear learners, let us summarize what we have learned so far in this module. We have learned that rural development in general is used to refer to the actions and initiatives taken to improve the standard of living in non-urban neighborhoods, countryside, and the remote villages. Number 2, rural development actions mostly aim at the social and economic development of the areas. These programs are usually top-down from the local or regional authorities, regional development agencies, NGOs, national governments, or international development organizations. Number 3, distance education or learning refers to the teaching and learning where the learner is not regularly in contact with the instructor, but still in contact regularly through the use of ICT and other forms of communication. Number 4, most Indian rural weaker sections being village-based illiterate agricultural laborers and most Indian tribes being forest-based illiterates, the need of the hour is the occupational modernization of these rural weaker sections and tribes, and this can be possible only through distance education and education in vocational areas. So dear learners, now we come to the end of the third module of week 6. Thus, in this module, we have discussed the meaning and definition of rural development as well as distance education and also the relationship between the two. We have also discussed the various courses on rural development available in the ODL mode in the country. In the next module, we shall discuss how women empowerment is achieved through open and distance learning. See you again. Thank you.